All right, guys, I am psyched. I am so excited about this conversation. We are talking with George Xanthis. And I got to tell you, if you're a longtime Dream Think doer, you know I kind of freak out on my intros. I love intros. That's kind of my thing. I love to honor my guests with a good, robust intro. And one of the things we do in that process is we reach out to our guests and say, hey, is there anything you want included? Just because we want to honor them, all of that. Now, what's funny is sometimes we'll get a response back and it will be pages and pages, or at least paragraphs and paragraphs of accolades, awards, big wins, all that stuff, which is great. I use some of it. I don't use all of it. But in George's case, here's the response we got. And I think it's my absolute favorite response of all time of ever asking this question. We said, hey, what do you want? What do you want in your intro? And he said, listen, just tell him I'm from Australia. I currently play John on The Chosen. I'm fine with that. I'll leave the rest up to you. I'm like, how flippin' awesome. I already love the guy, but I loved him even more. But here's the thing. He's got such a great and impressive history. I gotta do some of that before we go with the rest of the interview. As we've already mentioned, he plays John in The Chosen. And if you're familiar with The Chosen, I'm betting you are deeply impacted by it. I know I have absolutely loved this thing. But if you're not familiar with The Chosen, I want to let you know it is a phenom. It's a juggernaut. It's absolutely incredible. It is a TV series, first of its kind, where it's a multi-season TV series based on the life of Jesus. And they do it in a way that's just so incredibly powerful, so beautiful, so first rate. As an entrepreneur, I'm blown away by how they're pulling this off because, I mean, sadly, as a Jesus guy, I can say this. Sometimes if it's Christian, it's lower quality, especially in the media world, but this thing is first rate. The feedback, when I put this out there, the feedback on this thing was absolutely incredible, changing people's lives. And here's the thing. It's also from an entrepreneurial standpoint, just incredible from the standpoint that it is the number one crowdfunded media project of all time. Millions and millions of dollars raised, 2 seasons done, and they're available. If you haven't watched them, download it on the app, buy the DVDs. Both seasons are available on DVD now, I believe. All of that, get this, over 270 million views, watched in over 180 countries, I think 50 plus translations. It's incredible. And George is in the middle of all of that. He's also a force for good outside the show. He came up through acting school, improv, comedy, all these kinds of things. He even spent some time in the Groundlings improv troupe in LA, which is impressive. He's had a lot of different experiences and has already decided to give back. He has his own podcast called Act Up. You need to check it out. If you're an actor or anybody else that you know is an actor, you need to check out this podcast. He and George and his friends are really teaching the basics of the business, the mindset, everything. So it's an incredible podcast. You guys know my son is in acting school in LA. It's powerful. He's loving it. All of that. George also gives back. So he's on Cameo. If you haven't seen it, you got to go check it out. But Cameo, you can get these videos, personalized videos, all that stuff. George is doing those. But here's the thing. Everything that he does on that, 100% of it, he is giving to the Sydney Children's Hospital. Absolutely amazing. Hospital's doing incredible stuff. Plus, he and some of his fellow cast members did a marathon session on Instagram here recently and raised thousands of dollars for the people that are hurting in Afghanistan. They're doing just cool stuff. If you didn't love him before, you're going to love him even more now, right? And I know I do. I can't wait to do this conversation. So, George, my man, welcome to Dream Think Do.
Thank you, man. I'm so glad that I gave you a 6-word intro because I much prefer that. I mean, I didn't even, that was incredible.
I gotta do it. I always say, I joke with my guests a little bit that I go just this side of stalker laws, restraining order, but I love to dive in, especially when it's a story like yours and so robust. So I want to dive into it. Let's do a little history. And then we'll jump to the present and we'll talk about the future a little bit too. But let's talk history and you and acting. From what I understand, the acting bug bit you pretty doggone early.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say this, and I've probably said it in my podcast a lot as well, and in a lot of interviews. I think there are so many experiences when I'm a kid. The one that I always point to is Robin Williams in Mrs. Doubtfire. I just was obsessed with, and if I could pinpoint it's in a scene, it's when the lawyer, one of the ladies that's interviewing him, so that he can get a job to visit
Kind of
his
looking
kids.
down her nose at him and all that.
Yeah. And she's like, so what do you do? And he says, I do voices. She's like, what do you mean you do voices? And he's like, I do voices. Yes. And he does like
It does
20 of them. And
exactly.
I was watching like a kid just going, wow. And then like even at the beginning of Mrs. Doubtfire, it's like the first thing you see is him as the bird singing the like Figaro, 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 Figaro. Like he's like singing all the, and seeing him in the studio doing, and it's funny because Robin Williams is such an amazing voice artist, but as I've researched his upbringing and seen his historical kind of journey, I mean, it's just it was a no-brainer to put him in voice acting, but he never really done it. He just, because he was such a big actor, they gave him the genie and whatnot. But anyway, everything in that film, just Robin Williams being a bird. He was 20 characters in that little interview. Then he becomes like several types of women, the maid. It's just, I mean, I've loved Robin Williams ever since that moment, but it got me into wanting to do voices. And it's weird because I didn't, when you do voices, especially as a kid, you don't have the medium of radio, especially in the 90s. Right. So you got to use your whole body. So I would do that. I was impersonating family members, teachers, from a very early age. And that's kind of, me into acting. That's comedy incredible. And voices.
Yeah. And did you do acting in school? Were you in plays and that kind of thing growing up?
Yeah, really, really, really interesting there. My school never put me in a play. I don't know if it's like sour grapes now that I've got. I don't know.
Suck it, school. Look at me now.
Yeah. I auditioned for so many different plays, but I could only be like the background. Like they're like, oh, you can hold like a tree.
Yeah, you can be a tree. You can be you could be a candlestick. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they tell you you're a tree, but essentially I'm holding leaves. So I don't know. Like it was very, actually, when I was a very young kid, actually, when I was like 5 or 6, I was in, but that was at a Greek school. Like I went to like it was like Greek Orthodox kind of, cultural kind of school. The St. Spiridon Church in Sydney. I know you've got family in Sydney. They may know about the St. Spiridon Church, but I was actually in a lot of plays when I was really young. This is the first time I've actually realized this. I was when I was like 5 and 6, but really, as I knew what acting was, I didn't even know what acting was. They would just put me on stage and like do funny things. What?
Do your thing. Do that thing you do.
But auditioning for a thing, I never got a role in school. It was very disappointing.
Amazing. Do you think that's part of the reason why you do the podcast now? Because I feel like your podcast, I've been listening, obviously I am not an actor. I don't aspire to be an actor, but both of our boys are very much into the arts. They've made 35 short films together, all this kind of stuff. So like, it's been a part of our lives. But when I listen to that thing, you are giving so much gold away. Do you think some of the maybe getting beat up even at an early age on this front is why you give back?
Absolutely. And I've even said this to my school. I'm trying my best to kind of, get into those sorts of circles to try and just talk to, especially like, maybe 14, 15 to 18-year-olds. I mean, I don't know, the context in American school might be different, but, for us, that's like year or 9th grade to 12th grade. We've got something called the HSC where you do this big test and you
all the pressure.
College or
my niece is preparing for this right now. Absolutely. Yeah.
But like, if you do drama, this is the problem, is that usually we have this system of scaling at school. And so if you do drama, like I did extension maths, it's scaled very high. I did not do drama. I didn't continue it because it's scaled low. Like if you get a low grade in drama, they make it worse. If you get a low grade in maths, they push it up because it's so hard. They scale. So
you have to do the calculations to get the best results you can, right? So
and that's why at school, At school, I never did drama.
What sparked it? Like, if you didn't have that kind of experience in school, like what inspired you to go all in? What inspired you to go to LA? All of that.
Well, it's kind of weird because like I said, there's this, I'm so proud of, my family are so supportive and they've supported me every single step of the way, but they want what's best for me. And so they said, you need a degree. Yeah. In case and when I heard this, in case acting doesn't work out, I couldn't hear it, but I accepted it. And so I got a degree in finance and accounting. So I actually I graduated from the University of Sydney with a Bachelor of Commerce, and I'm like 5/8 of the way through a Bachelor of Arts, but I just dropped it because I wanted to finish quick. Yeah, I just wanted commerce. I wanted business. yeah, and get out. So
That's amazing. And so did you go into business for a while, or did you go right into acting professionally, or try to get into acting professionally?
I mean, it's helped me understand investing and whatnot.
Sure.
One of my top subjects was mergers and acquisitions, so I know a lot about how to make money work for me.
There you
So I
go.
would say that I've probably used my degree more for my own kind of personal finances, but I've done a little bit of like mortgage loan
Yeah.
writing, like I've helped out in offices and stuff like that. But yeah, there was a
great.
period where I was doing like 3 jobs at once, but it's always been in service of the
Yeah.
dream to be an actor.
That's amazing. And so what did inspire you to make the move? Like, was the shift to go from Sydney to LA and start to do the work there, or was there something in between?
It's interesting because in Australia, I think we're about, in terms of what types of stories are being
Yeah.
told on television, we're behind. Like we're
Yeah.
kind of just, our most popular shows are shows called Home and Away and Neighbors, where it's just
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
you're
Absolutely.
on the beach. and
Kylie
there's people
Minogue got her
surfing.
start there, right? Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you look at Kylie Minogue and then you look at me. It's kind of like there's whereas in America, like
Yeah,
Al
lots
Pacino
of
is
options.
basically every actor like me. If it's you're thinking you want to be Al Pacino, and
Right.
I think Al Pacino would have struggled in Sydney, trying to get a job. So it's
Absolutely.
that idea of I want more variance in my work. So
Yeah.
Los Angeles felt like a place where, and as soon as I went, like you said before, I went to Groundlings, and there's so many opportunities for you. There's so many different avenues for you to take.
That's incredible.
And that's why I wanted to go.
Yeah, good for you. And I know you did have some success in Australia with Australian TV. Was that after spending some time in LA? Did you go back, or was that before?
So I graduated high school at 18. I went into theater at age 19. I did theater, like community theater, largely unpaid from age 19 to 25. My first TV gig was 25 years old in Australia. Moved to LA at age like 26, 27. So LA came later. I got some credits under my belt because you need a manager to go over to the States. And my management here in Australia is like, it's no point being there without rep. So I went there and had meetings, and you know what? Throw them under, not throw them under the bus a little bit, but my agent said, you're not going to get many meetings and blah, blah, blah. I got like 6 or 7, and I got interest from a few, and I've been with my managers ever since, and they've been phenomenal. I love them.
That's awesome.
Good risk. The risk.
There we go. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Well done. And that's what we talk about with Dream Think Do is, pursue dreams is often messy. It usually takes longer than you think. It usually means you're going to need help along the way. And you're an example of that, man. That's awesome. Now that helps to bring us up to present. And I know a lot of hard work happened between there and getting your audition for The Chosen, but let's talk about The Chosen a little bit. And just so you know too, I told you this before we hit record, but I put it out to our audience. If I've got somebody that I think people will really be interested in, I put it out there. Hey, what questions would you ask? We got more response for your listener lightning round questions than we probably ever gotten. So I'm going to sprinkle them in. Usually I wait and hold them to just one time, but I'm going to sprinkle them in as we go because there's so many good ones.
Sprinkle
exactly.
Away.
We're going to sprinkle away. But people are curious, and I know a little of the story just from doing the research, but it sounds like, this audition came up and you weren't auditioning for John.
No. It's funny. John has, in the first 4 episodes, which was the first bank of shooting we did. It was we did 4 episodes of season 1 in 2018, and then we did 4 episodes in 2019.
Okay.
So literally, I mean, as far as what we knew from The Chosen, it was 4 episodes, and it was like a web series. We had no idea. Yeah. So I got so John, spoiler alert, I don't want to spoil too much, but he has 6 words in like the opening couple of episodes. And if I'm not mistaken, it's go get caught in a net. I think it's 6 words. Wow. So you try and cast that character for me. I mean, you'll be scratching your head for
it's one of those where it's like, it's a meaty character if you know the whole story, but it's like, if you're looking at 6 episodes, it's like, I don't know that I want that guy. So you went in for, I hear you read for Peter first? Is that?
Yeah, for Simon Peter. And I always equate it to people who have ever seen like Lost or The Walking Dead. is it Daryl in The Walking Dead? He's like now the main character.
Exactly.
In
Norman
season
Reedus.
one,
That's exactly.
Norman Reedus. He's a kind of like a supporting character. And then because of, in my instance, it's because John literally becomes the beloved disciple. I had an idea of where he was headed.
Right.
It's
You
a
had
similar
an
kind
idea.
of,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like you kind of, there's going to be a journey for that character, him easily. But so what they did was they actually sent me in for Simon Peter. Dallas I actually got told that they really loved the audition and they would like to see you for the role of Quintus. And I was like, but I was actually very excited because at the time, remember, 4 episodes, and I'm looking at the script, and Quintus says a lot, and he's this Roman,
and it's a meaty role too.
And like I said, I have not only interest in the arts, but one of my majors when I was finishing high school, for the high school certificate, was ancient history, and I got very, very high marks in that subject. So I'm obsessed with the Julio Claudians, Roman senators. So I was all in on this Roman guy. And they said they really loved your audition. They thought you were great. And like I had to learn 7 pages in like 24 hours. Dallas loved bringing up that point because in Australia, you're not allowed to have the script in your hand, whereas in America, they love seeing you with the script in your hand. I don't know why. That's like a weird cultural change.
Yeah.
So he was like, you were like off book. And I was like, yeah, so what? You have to be off book, don't you? And they're like, no, bring the script in with you. Read off the page if you need to. It's like, oh, that's a load off my shoulders.
Yeah, right. Like I could do that.
Yeah. And it was funny because he goes, but they want to offer you the role of John. And I kind of like blinked twice going, John. And I looked through the script and I saw no lines and I was like, huh. And I kind of had to look back and go like, what does John do? And I look back through, literature and history and everything. And kind of like Norman Reedus in The Walking Dead, John's like a parabola. No one is great for radio, but if the video can see, it's like it starts low and then finishes high. Seems like a good investment. Mergers and acquisitions.
Being the beloved, that doesn't suck, right? Like absolutely. So slow start, but strong throughout. I love it. Well, there's so many questions. But one of the questions that we got was like, when did you start to know this was a phenomenon? Because it had humble beginnings, crowdfunded. You did, the 4 episodes, hoping for another 4, with the whole idea of this being multi-seasons. But at that point, that was a big dream, but a big if too. So at what point did you get the sense that like, this is going to work or this is working?
So I actually knew. So me and Liz talk about this a lot. Yeah, we've obviously been there from the start, like a lot of the other actors. But
and Liz plays Mary Magdalene very powerfully.
She's incredible. But we constantly say, and actually Noah, and Liz all talk about this a lot. We knew from reading the script, because I get this question a lot. Did you know that this was going to be a phenomenon? So it's like a 2-part answer. Firstly, no, you can never know. I mean, especially when it gets pitched to you as like, web series, possible like low budget deferred payment. When you start hearing those things, you're like, oh, not again. But this is the thing, and again, it's not to be disrespectful to Jesus, but I didn't see Jesus in the first episode. That's when I knew the series was going to be powerful, and that may sound counterintuitive, but what I meant by that is that the show is going to hold you even without the thing that everybody wants to see, which is the idea, the image and the person of Jesus. The show is called The Chosen. It's not called The Jesus. So, again, no offense, but
it's true.
That's what makes a TV show. It's, Lost is not about the island. It's about the characters on the island. And what's so great about the show, and Dallas, ask him what his favorite episodes are of season 1 and season 2. He's going to tell you both times, it's like actually in season 1, his episode, it's always episode 3 of both of them.
Interesting.
But he'll say to you, episode 3 of season 2 is his favorite because it's the disciples around a fire and they talk, and that's it. There's no Jesus.
So powerful. Yeah, right. It is. And he wanders through exhausted later, right? But it's like, it is so powerful. And that dialogue is so real. It helps you remember everyone was very human and very messy.
And again, that's kind of what you're coming back to. Like, when did you know this was going to be a thing?
Yeah.
I'm reading this script and I'm seeing a television series. So I said to myself, I know the subject matter is very, very, it has the potential to go absolutely, massive and explode. But I know it's a good television series. So I knew that there was something special there, especially that idea of reading that first script. And I don't think you even see Jesus at the end. You might see him at the end, but it's
of
kind of like
episode one, he puts his hand on Mary's hand, and that's it. Like, that's boom, that's it. It's like,
that's
what?
it. And I still get goosebumps now thinking about that. And that's what it is. We don't show you Jesus from second one. We make you earn it as the audience. And that's kind of how, obviously we see more of him as the series goes on.
Oh, yeah.
As a TV series, I kind of knew that it was a great TV show. Could never have anticipated where it got to, but if there's a moment, and this is a kind of a dumb answer, when did I know that it was kind of starting to change? I talked to you about this off air when my favorite footballer on the planet started following the show, Roberto Firmino.
That's right. When Liverpool's in the house, that means something's going on, right? Like, absolutely.
A friend of mine is a writer. She's a journalist over in Liverpool, and we did some podcasts together. And we've been chatting, and she loves the series, and we've chatted about the show. And she goes, "George, do you know that Roberto Firmino, Bobby, we call him, has just started like watching your show?" I'm like, "What? How do you know?"
Yeah.
She goes, "It's on his Instagram. He did like an Instagram post about it." And then I go to like a photo, and it was a photo just of John, and it says liked by Roberto Firmino. I was like, oh wow, this show must be.
I can die happy. That's right. That is so awesome. I love it. Well, that leads us well into some of our first lightning round question. That's from Mario Menert. And I'm probably butchering Mario's name. I love Mario. But Mario, he got so excited, he actually talked with his dad, who is also loving this show. And they came up with a number of questions. But one of the questions they came up with, which I thought was so great, is how have you dealt with the magnitude of playing such a significant role? And I know from listening to your podcast, creating that character profile, really knowing that character is important for you. Like, how did you do that with such an important character? Was this different than other characters you've done before? Like, what was that preparation like for you?
Well, it's very interesting because the show starts off, I think I was for people like Shahar or Jonathan or Liz, I think their answers might be different to this because they are thrown into the deep end. The difference with me is that I kind of got training wheels. Like I said, John's very rarely in the first season. And I got a chance to kind of sit on set and watch, and I didn't even meet Jonathan until like the second 4 episodes, basically.
Really? Because Jonathan plays Jesus. Absolutely incredible. We've heard
the best portrayal of Jesus, in my opinion.
By hands down. I mean, at 1, he looks the part. 2, he sounds the part, and his eyes, what he's able to do, and just be able to be that loving, but also, that force that he is. So, so good. But that's amazing. I didn't even think about that you would be able to be in proxemics of all of it, but not have the pressure necessarily of the first couple of episodes riding on your shoulders, like many of the others do.
Yeah. Well, and what also happens with that is that, you'll find very quickly, again, I think it's a bit different with Shahar, and I do think it's the same with them in that Dallas casts, and it's Dallas and Amanda, by the way. Amanda's the one who said he's a John to me.
Really?
But every actor and disciple, they're married. I had no idea, but when I did do the research on John, it's lots of me in that. He's explosive and passionate, but he wants to use his passion, as said in episode 1 of season 2, Thunder, use your passion for righteousness, as Jesus says. So I like to think that I do the same thing. I might get a little bit, wound up, but I'm trying to help. So that's kind of, I don't really, for that aspect of John, although you've got to do acting things where you keep your face still and make sure you're slightly left of camera. You've got to control yourself, but inside you can bubble with all of these real emotions. No one will tell the difference on the outside. So playing John, I mean, there is, as the show's got bigger, maybe I feel the pressure a little bit more. But again, the context of me starting on the show is it was such a small series. And so, and I had, not as much to do. I was, a supporting character in the first season. So I didn't feel so much of the pressure. And just when the pressure should be felt, I got the hang of it. So I'm kind of, very comfortable. And alongside that, as you see with Yoshi, who plays Philip, as you see with Joey, who plays Thomas, and as you see, and I'm not allowed to say actually, another character who plays a new character.
The new character will leave. Yeah, exactly.
A new person who plays a new character.
We talked about
that. But everybody has, and Abe as Big James, our new Big James. Everyone has an aspect of that disciple in them already. That makes the portrayal a lot easier. And I guess we see them as historical figures, but first and foremost, we're actors, so they're us, they're our characters. So yeah, the pressure is off because we're so into the character, I would say.
That is amazing. And that also speaks to good casting, because if they could see the characteristics of John in you, which is obviously apparent, then that's amazing. But would you say that playing that role has impacted you personally? Like, has that had an impact on how your perspective or how you walk, that kind of thing? I mean, I would imagine having something that multiple seasons, but also with the weight of this kind of character.
Well, there's an interesting character dynamic between, and a lot of this is obviously Dallas and I having conversations, and Dallas leading the conversation, but some of it is conversations I've had with Abe, who plays Big James. But there's this interesting dynamic between the Sons of Thunder, between James and John, in that together they're like this one complete person. And between them, they kind of, if you have them together, you're going to get everything. But if you have them separately, it seems as though John is more feeling, and he's more like, I get this, and this is like, it's like faith kind of thing. I get that. James is more analytical and historical, and he's kind of like, this book says this thing. And it's funny because then I read up on John, and he was quite he was an actor, in not a sense as an actor, as like a performer, but he acted upon things, and he was
took action,
as opposed to analyzing it too much. So whenever John doesn't understand the words of something, he'll ask James. Whenever James doesn't understand the feeling of something, he'll ask John. There's a really cool scene. It might be an episode. Oh God, I can't even remember the number. But James and John are talking, and they're watching Simon the Zealot doing all of his like kung fu. And Big James says, "When do you think we're going to understand this?" And then John says, "I don't think we're going to understand for a long time." And he says, and then James is like, "Who's not going to understand?" And then John's like, "Everybody." So it's like, that's a pretty big thing to kind of to know. So when you ask me like, has playing John impacted you? When I read up more about John and seeing that he's a feeler, he's someone who kind of, I hate to use the word spiritual because some people don't like that. I don't know. I like it personally. Some other people don't like it.
I'm down. That's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
It's that idea of, there's even things of him. He sits down and he prays, and but he's with himself, and that kind of sounds a bit like meditation. And it's kind of like, whoa, I had no idea that they were doing that sort of stuff back then. And prayer and meditation can kind of be, you can interchange those words a lot. And again, that kind of speaks, that's how the show can speak to so many people. If you're a Christian, then I will pray, and that's how I'm going to do it. But if you are a Christian, but you prefer to meditate, you might think, oh my goodness, I can probably do that same thing that they do. But, sit, in meditation, I know you talk about faith and exploring that sort of stuff on your show. So reading up about John and hearing him, being a little bit more emotional and feeling things and kind of borderline meditating and praying. And that was interesting. I had no idea that one of the disciples could be like that. And I'm very similar to that. So it made me open up to that side of myself a lot more, I would say.
Isn't that cool? That's amazing. And I can't imagine that happens with every role that you have, but especially with this role being such a good fit and being able to have more time with it too is such a gift. I love it. All right. So we got another one. I've got so many questions. That's why we're going to go 4 hours. But so Morgan Goss asked a great question. She actually asked a bunch of questions, but one of my favorites is, she said, it seems like the disciples didn't get along well. So I wondered if the actors do. And I looks like, to me, it looks like guys are having a blast. But she said a follow-up question is, what's one of the funniest or scariest things that's happened on the set? So one, the disciples didn't get along all that well, but do you guys get along? And then also, what's one of the funniest or scariest things that's happened on the set so far?
Well, I think so. I can do lightning round with that because yes, the disciples do get along.
Yeah.
We we're
it
in
seems
our
like you guys
bubble.
are having a blast. Like,
oh, having a huge blast, and we're it's, despite the fact that COVID's around, we're in like a bubble of ours, and we have to be careful. But
yeah,
we'll host each other at each other's hotel rooms. I think I don't know if I'm revealing too much here. We've done little karaoke sessions, in like conference rooms. Like we'll ask, and we go to the conference room, we'll put on some karaoke, we'll play
awesome.
games. It's
you gotta. I mean, for as long as this is running, and you guys don't always have. I mean, you are shooting in locations where sometimes the temperatures are extreme, the elements are extreme. Like you've got to find some ways to sustain this. So I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome. How about funniest or scariest moment for you? One of the funniest or scariest
moment. I mean, look, I don't want to. I can't pick my brain too much, but I mean, a lot of the times the fire will just catch on something. That happens a lot. I don't know if that's OH&S, but it just happens because we're using a lot of like, like those little. And what, we've shown a video of someone stamping out fire. I think in one of the BTS.
Really?
So occasionally those little lanterns will just get a little bit too hot.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, whoa, or like,
you got a lot of straw, and you got a lot of dust, and you got a lot of fire. It's like that. That does make sense. I love it. Okay. Well, I'm glad nobody's gotten hurt. So that's good. That's good.
And it's funny, but you know what? Maybe a combination of funny and annoying is the planes keep going overhead. And scare. So the planes going overhead is really annoying.
Oh, I would imagine that's a little bit of a downer. You're, Jesus talking to the woman at the well, and a 747 flies over. Like what?
Yeah. And then the Sermon on the Mount was filmed in sub-zero. I mean, for us in Australia, we use degrees Celsius.
Oh, sure.
Because we're normal. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right.
Get with it, guys.
Because you got it wrong. That's why.
Let's use 0 as freezing and 100 as boiling. It's a little bit easier.
There's no doubt.
Whatever freezing is for you guys, we were doing that. Like literally, if you had a bit of snot coming out of your nose, it would freeze before it comes out of your nose. And we were in like summer gear. That scary.
Like you guys don't have a lot of layers in that. Like, that's amazing. That's incredible. Yeah, at least Jesus got that extra little scarf thing, which was also a great scene. Yeah, but that's none of that looks warm. That's for sure. So especially for you guys, I love it. Okay, so all right, now I get to ask one of my favorite questions, or one of my questions. Okay, so I already told you before we hit record that one of mine, if not the favorite episode, is Thunder, which is the first episode of the second season, and it's focused on you and Big James, a lot of it, and it's an incredible story arc. You do an incredible job, and I mean seriously, no matter who I have on the show, I'll say this is one of my favorite, if not the favorite episode. I just think it's so incredible. And then what happens with well, I don't think it's ruining anything, but it's like what happens.
Go for it. People should have watched it by now.
Yeah, exactly right. But Malik, I mean, and what happens with the Samaritan, I mean, it's just, it guts me every time. Just, it is so incredible. And it speaks to prejudice. It speaks to, it speaks to the kindness of Jesus. And I think the metaphor of going after the one, leaving the 99 to go after the one, it's one of the most beautiful representations of that. So that for me is one of my absolute favorite moments. Has there been a scene for you or an episode for you that just stood out? Like whether it was the power of being in it? Cause man, I'll tell you what, you standing in the temple, like getting it in at the beginning or at the end, towards the end of Thunder. And then it comes back around to the future scene, all those, but you and the camera zooming in and that teardrops, my gosh, man, I watched it again this morning just to get ready. And I was bawling my eyes out at the kitchen table with the iPad, jerk.
Yeah.
So like, what would you say when you think back, what's been one of those favorite moments for you, or maybe a movement where you felt something at a spiritual level for you?
Well, there's a couple. Very quickly, I'll just point to Thunder because you just brought it up. I mean, That scene is very technically, there was a lot of, so the one with the teardrop,
Yeah.
me and Dallas, we speak very candidly to each other, and I'll just say to him, like, where do you want me to cry or not? And he's like, no. And, you know, I'll be like, good, I'm not crying. So I walk off.
Yeah.
You know, it's very simple. So for that scene, no crying. It's just, you're proud of him kind of thing. He's saying something, it's resonating with you. And it's because me and Dallas always talk about, again, we're very candid with this. I'm not sure. I'm sure he's candid with the other actors.
Is that part of it's your job too, right? Like you are needing to deliver an emotional experience. Boom. So that's a part of your job. But at the same time, you're dealing with some powerful content here.
Exactly. And so, but he's like, we don't have to, and again, candid, you don't have to cry at everything. I mean, think about season 6 and 7, like, the worst is yet to come.
Right,
so
right.
We don't want to, and I take that. I'm like, good, I'm not crying. So, you know, and then I don't know whose idea it was, but during that scene, Jonathan's delivering his stuff, and he just stares at me, and then just starts talking to me, and I'm like, you're kidding? Like, is this a joke? Like, I've been told not to cry, and so what happens is I'm just, because me and Jonathan are really good friends. Like we joke, and that's made things. And again, I would point to the actor's experience.
Yeah.
First thing I would say to any actor, if you've got scenes with somebody, you got to go grab a coffee with them or have an experience with them. I mean, I did that for a year. I didn't try to do it. We were neighbors. So me and Jonathan naturally just by chance, we were like, oh, let's hang out a lot. And then season 2 came along. So, you know,
you are the beloved. I mean, you
kind of, you know, like we kind of had this like relationship.
Yeah, that's amazing. Isn't that incredible?
So when that person is now Jonathan, and then I'm like, switch off your George feelings, and then it's Jesus. I'm like, switch off. No matter where I am, person is someone that I care about, and they're saying some huge things to me. And I'm not going to disclose what was being said. It's a mixture of what he was saying in the scene and other stuff. But I couldn't hold it in. And an acting teacher of mine told me, what's more powerful than seeing somebody cry is seeing somebody not cry. And that's what kind of happens. I'm trying not to, because the actor in me is kind of being technical, going, and you can always take the technical note and make it an acting moment. So for me, I was like, John doesn't want to cry in the temple, in the synagogue. Like, I'm strong. I'm the son of thunder. I ought to be strong. And then I'm about to cry, and I'm like, so embarrassing. And so this all in me trying to stop that from happening. And that's when one tear comes down. I thought they'd stopped shooting by that stage. I'm like, so I remember after that going, Dallas, I think a tear came out. I'm so sorry. He's like, don't worry, dude. It was fine.
That's right. No, trust me, real good.
I need to ask him. I'm like, whose idea was that to get Jonathan to do that? Because anyway, you're like,
that is amazing. Like you didn't know that was coming, and then boom, I can only imagine. And by the way, we haven't said it, but Dallas Jenkins is basically the head writer and really given the credit for being the creator of The Chosen. So I know you've mentioned Dallas a couple of different times. Incredible story there. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. So I love it. All right. So we could go for another 3 to 4 hours, man. So, but I'll try to limit it. So lots of questions. And I'm not going to push you on this, but lots of questions. Like Patricia Ortega was like, okay, she wanted to know, like, how long do their contracts go? Do they know? Are we going to go into Acts? Are we going to go into the rest of the Gospels? Like, you know, all this stuff. And it's like, I'll ask what I can ask. So my question to you is, out of curiosity, like, how many details do you have about what's going to happen next? And how much are you getting this just script by script?
We don't have any scripts for season 3 yet. So I know that much. I don't know if that's if I can just say I don't have it, that's not disclosing too much. I just
right, exactly. Well, it's a little bit like the Titanic. Like we knew we knew the general gist about the Titanic was going to end. You know, and in this we know that the basics of the stories and things. But you know, we'll say that like that's one of the beautiful things I think with The Chosen is that I think it is very true to the Gospels, but it also takes these stories and these characters and introduces other elements that allows you to connect with them as human beings. So, you know, there's a lot of that's yet to be seen as well. And I know that offends some people. Like some people are like, oh, that's not true to the Gospels, that, you know, Thomas may have had a love interest with a woman that, you know, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, but is it go against the gospel? No, and it helps
Yeah.
to make these people real, like to realize what it was like to travel and to not know from day to day. Do we need to pack our crap? Like, are we going to leave tonight?
Yeah.
All of those things.
Well,
It's just
well,
incredible.
that's what makes, I mean, we're all passionate artists on the
Yeah,
show. I
right.
mean, again, like all of the disciples, like how we got the job is we auditioned and we had
Yeah.
callbacks and we got the job and we signed a contract and then we go into work and then we go home,
Yeah.
and then we do other work, like we do other
Right.
jobs like I've been
Right.
doing, So when we get told, especially when we hear Dallas, I mean, he is waxing lyrical about Vince Gilligan, and I don't know if I'm exposing him too much, but he loves Breaking Bad. And so at the base of it, like you said there, it was this in the gospel, and it might be. Dallas is very careful with everything,
Yeah.
but it's a television show,
Right.
Like there has to be dramatic points, and there has to be highs, and there has to be lows, and these characters need to have arcs. Was Matthew on the spectrum? Was he socially awkward?
Right.
I don't know, but that's our character that we're doing, and everything that Matthew does that is according to the gospel. Okay, yeah, we know those things, what he wrote and what he said, but we're taking creative license with it because it's a TV series, and Dallas does this all the time. Why we've got flash forwards, and it's not why we've got them. I think Dallas has got to give himself more credit, but he goes, I love in Breaking Bad how they do that.
Oh,
Like you start the episode with something like, for example, the famous episode of the kid on the bicycle. We know he gets killed later. That's why we show the bicycle in the beginning.
Right. I mean, it's just those things of, exactly. Spoiler, but it is, I mean, it is so powerful. And I mean, we asked for questions, and you didn't ask for me to pump up The Chosen. Like, that was not a part of your expectation, but I got to tell you, man, I put this out to our listeners and said, hey, George is going to be on, what questions would you ask, all those things. And I can tell you the feedback is incredible. I shared with you before we record that I know someone from my childhood who has had a hard existence, and probably seasons of a very, very hard heart. And he just poured out to me, messaged me and said, just please tell them this show has helped me to see Jesus in an entirely different light. He's like, it has changed the way I look at everything. And it's like, how amazing is it to be a part of, any amazing, powerful television show that has this kind of following, but to like see people's hearts changed, kudos to you and everybody involved with this. It's absolutely incredible.
The thing is that there's so many people from different faiths and backgrounds on the show, and they're watching it, and everyone can take something from the show, because I think, it transcends language. A lot of the stuff that Jesus said, just the words he said will transcend language, which means that it translates no matter what, and I remember being in a scene, going back to one of the questions you asked, like what something that resonated with you, like on set. I know I'm always going to tell this story, and I keep forgetting what episode it is. It's called Indescribable Passion. I think it's episode 6 or 7 in season 1. It's when the paralytic gets lowered into Zebedee's house.
That is incredible. That wrecks me too. Yes, absolutely.
But what Jesus says before that, again, just going back to your friend about it's making me see Jesus in a way that I'd never have before. Now, I grew up Greek Orthodox, and you go to church and you listen, and you listen, but sometimes it doesn't make sense. And that's in any denomination, I would assume, because I also then went to Newington, which is a school in Sydney, and we still had chapel, where it was a different denomination. I don't know if it was Anglican or Protestant. I don't know what it was, but we still had chapel, and we still heard the same verses. And at age 12, 13, I still didn't really understand it. And there's this, there's something that Jesus says where someone asks him, when's heaven coming? And he's just before the paralytic gets lowered in, and he just looks, he's just like, and he goes, what would you do if your master was away and you I don't know what exactly, I should watch it back and see if I've got it right, but it's something along the lines of, what would you do if your master's returning and you have to open the doors for him? It's like, would you go to sleep? And it's like, no, you wouldn't. The disciples answer, it's kind of like a riddle, but it's like, would you go to sleep? It's like, no, you wouldn't go to sleep, because then if he arrived, you wouldn't be there to open the door. And then something along the lines of, if you keep the door open, then you're letting everybody in. You have to be at the door ready, because you never know when it's going to arrive. And it's kind of like, it doesn't matter what denomination you are. I mean, it's always be present. be in this moment. I mean, if you're an actor and you want to take Jesus's words as something like, be an
Right,
actor, always be in the
exactly.
present moment. Don't
Yeah.
wait for the line, or don't anticipate it, but don't fall asleep. You know, that is a huge message in so many different aspects of life. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or Muslim or you know, spiritual in some other sense. You're a Buddhist even. That resonates with everybody. And you know, whether it's Christian or not, I think there are so many things in the show that you can apply to your life. And when you said that about your friend, it just reminded me of that. I'd never heard that being said before. And the lucky thing with me is that people can experience this vicariously through me by watching the show. But I was on set and I got to listen to that, which was fantastic. I'd never heard that in that way before. Maybe because it was in Greek.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, it's also like you think about those things being read, especially, you know, we had flannel graphs in Iowa, you know, and I'm watching this like, this doesn't make any sense, right? As a kid, it's like, it's out of context. It's a different time in history, all those things.
Yeah.
But when you go and see this, it's just this reminder of, we're talking about humans in a very messy world, navigating things, you know, with different clothing, but the same messes we're navigating today. And to be able to see that context of humans and being able to see Jesus in those moments, it's just so powerful. And it is the reminder that Jesus didn't come to start a religion. Jesus came to connect us with God, right? Like, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So I just love that.
I mean, very quickly, it happens in Thunder. I mean, James and John think that we're the Jews and we're the only ones. And then he's like, what makes you, literally, I think it's the only time Jesus got angry in this. And I felt it. I can still now get goosebumps about that scene. I was so embarrassed as John, so embarrassed. Wow. He's like, do you think you're more worthy than them? Well, you're not. You're not more worthy than them. Like, how dare you think that just because they're, you know, they're not the same as you from the same place, that you're better than them or something. And that's that whole idea of open. Yeah. Be open. Yeah, I love that scene as well, especially because
so good.
You know, I'm an advocate of open. Yeah, but I love that I was playing the opposite of that, and that's why I'm an actor, because I get to do that sort of stuff.
Absolutely, and it probably allowed you to get there. I mean, you've experienced the opposite of that, so it's like, you know, to be able to play that and all that is just incredible. My gosh, George, I love this conversation. I would love for it to go on forever, but here's the thing: I'm going to give you one last question. I'll let you ponder it. I'm going to point people to where you're at. All this. Here's my question to you. And again, you provide so much wisdom through your podcast, through the show, all of that, to help people keep going, right? Like as an actor, you provide actors with strategies and keys to keep moving. You're doing this, you know, multi-season series, oftentimes in very difficult situations and environments. And, you know, there could be pressure to all of that. I want to know, like, what's one thing for you that allows you to keep going? Because, you know, with Dream, Think, Do, we always talk about ways to help you dream bigger, think better, and do more of what you were put on the planet to do. And a part of that is grit. A part of that is persistence. A part of that is staying with it. And there's so much of your career and so much of what you're doing with The Chosen that is about sticking with it. I want you to think about what's one thing that maybe, you know, piece of advice or wisdom that you could share to someone that's needing to stick with a dream. What's something you'd share with them? I'll let you think about it. All right. Okay. So we've been talking with George Xanthis. George, if he wasn't one of your favorite people, I'm sure he is now. We've been talking about his TV series. It's called The Chosen. Second season is, I believe, out on DVD. I know first season's out on DVD, on Amazon, but DVD now out for second season? Or maybe in the midst of it, like it could be in the next week or two or something like that.
Well, I was confused by. I think it might be a bit later. I wish I had checked that beforehand. But
I know we'll figure it out. I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah.
The first season you couldn't get it in Australia. So for those who are in Australia, they just about maybe 2 weeks ago, we announced that you could now order it into Australia. That's the first season. But I've signed a bunch of. Oh no, that wouldn't have been season 2. I don't know when the season 2 DVD is out, but it's on the app.
Whenever
so you can always
it is,
get it on the app.
Get it. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
But George's podcast is called Act Up. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. If you've got a friend that's an actor, if you're an actor, or you just want to be inspired and learn from actors, It's an incredible thing. And also there's some fun backstories on The Chosen because he's got a number of his friends from there on there as well. And then go find him on Cameo. Seriously, we'll put it in the show notes. We'll put a link to it in the show notes. But again, George is doing some great stuff for the Sydney Children's Hospital, and you can help him out with that. I know I did, and I loved my video. So we'll leave it at that. All right, George, what do you think? What's one piece of wisdom that you would share that helps you keep moving forward, keep going?
Well, I don't know if it's too simple an answer, but I feel like always as actors, especially having seen the corporate world, I got a glimpse of it by doing the college degree that I did and doing an office job and using that to fund my way into acting. As actors, we're very lucky because we need to be present all the time. And I just was trying to find ways to be present. And one that helped me the most was meditation. It's a way to wipe the slate clean. Now, the reason it's purely technical. I need to be in that room. I need to be a specific person. I can't have baggage from the past, or I can't be thinking about the future. I can't even also, as you discussed, doing an audition, like your son said, it was great information for him. I'm glad. But you can't be thinking about, I want the job. It must always be, I have. And the only way to get into that present stage, I feel, is meditation. You wipe the slate clean. And then that's why I say we're lucky as actors, because then I started using that kind of in day-to-day life. And then I go on The Chosen and I hear, Jesus maybe I'm being wrong, but he's talking about be present. That's the only way you're going to get to the kingdom of heaven is if you're, present. And it's kind of, I feel like that meditating and it can be anything, by the way. It can be prayer. It can be whatever levels you. I feel like what it does is that if you are feeling like, for example, if you are feeling a little bit negative and you pray and it sets you on neutral, then anything that can get you into that neutral stage can help you go into everything as 0. You're not going in as -5 or -10. And so I use that firstly for acting. And now I kind of use that in my life. I'll try, and if I'm doing yoga, for example, there's a meditation, they call it Shavasana right at the end of the yoga. And it's a really great way if you're really bored about if you can't do meditation. It's a great way to just feel your body and just get down to 0, because even regardless if you pray and meditate, or if it's just meditation or just prayer, whatever it is, when you're in contact with your body and you're at 0 at the very least, let's just say you're in a car and someone like cuts in front of you. If you're at 0, you're kind of like, maybe they just need to get to work quicker than I do.
They're headed to the hospital or whatever, as opposed to -5. And you're like, exactly right. I love that. I think that is so valuable.
That kind of just keeps me. I would say like that's any time that I feel like I'm kind of wavering a little bit, I just try and get myself back to 0. And again, sometimes it's purely technical. If I need to go to an audition room, I need to go on set and I'm feeling a bit weird. I just need to get to a calm, feel the present, and then go in there so that when I'm performing, it's the best version of myself. And I can you can add layers to 0. It's harder to add layers. It's kind of like building a sandcastle. It's like a triangle, great for radio again. But if it's like a triangle of sand, you can't put anything on top. But if it's a flat piece, you can start building on top of it. So
I love that.
Get nice and neutral.
I love that. I love that. And I think, that is something that, whether it's preparing for a role or preparing for a meeting or preparing for a date, whatever it is, to be fully present. And that brings up like a total other tangent that we could talk on for 45 minutes. But that is one of the other elements of The Chosen that I absolutely love. And it was a huge reminder. Like I've spent a lot of time in the Gospels, but seeing it walked out, but just the number of times where Jesus goes away to get quiet, right? Like as an introvert, like I am actually an introvert that loves people. Like I so appreciate seeing that, to go like, look at that. He needed to get away, to get quiet, to like you're saying, clear things out. And for him, obviously be praying and talking with God and feeling that love and all of that. But it's like, you have to be intentional with it. Whatever your approach is going to be, you don't get to that sense of peace, of being fully present accidentally. That's an intentional thing. You have to choose to do certain things to help you to get there. So George, my man, thanks. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just very quickly just going to say also the way that they do present like prayer as well. It's like, you know,
Oh yeah.
as a kid, I think I was maybe, you know, and this was at when I later when I went to, you know, school and we had chapel and stuff.
Sure.
Sometimes I felt like us as kids, we felt like we were praying to ask for things. And it's, of course you do, but watching the show as well, the way that I think even me and Giovanni talk a lot about it, because Thaddeus is quite a prayerful kind of, and he's learning how to pray. But watching how the show does it, especially when they, you know, they recite, they close their eyes, and it's very,
hands are
it's very,
open. Right?
hands
Like,
are open,
yeah.
be open, be
Yeah.
accepting things, and that was so refreshing to see, and I just felt way more calm at that, and that's something, you know, if people, when you're praying or whatever like that,
Yeah.
taking a second and just being there, you know, even if I think if you just sit there with God, or you know, if you're from a different faith, whoever, it's just like that portrayal of prayer was really really serene, really nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like the way the show does it.
Beautiful.
It's brilliant.
Absolutely. Well, George, man, we love you. Thank you so much for taking the time, and thanks so much for doing what you do. You are making the world a better place, brother.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be on here, and thank you so much for having me, man.